Y'all dealing with the king. If you wanna come and get it, let the outlaw get you out your seats. You want sports talk, politics? He don't give a shit. Everyone says speak, follow it. About to issue y'all a masterclass. You wanna pass? Gunslinging the new podcast, eat candy ass. Grab a top bench, get information. It's your boy John Roker. Welcome to the Outlaw Nation.
All right, welcome everybody to the latest episode of the Outlaw Nation podcast. I am John Roca, a.k.a. the Outlaw. Hey, listen, I've got a little this cough in my throat, a little something going on that I'm fighting off. I think I just inhaled the wrong piece of food. But you are catching me recording this as I drive into work this morning. It's 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning here in Los Angeles. And this is the time I have to record it. It's not going to be a long episode, maybe about 50 minutes if I even get that far. Unfortunately, I've just been crazy busy, and with the holiday and everything, it's just been kind of nuts to find time to record this episode this week. But next week we'll be back, and I've got some new segments I'm kicking around. I mentioned fan questions, which I'll start doing next week. I've also got a couple of possible new segments that I might introduce to the show to see if it's something you guys enjoy or like. I'm certainly open to suggestions. If you guys have some suggestions for segments you'd like to see on the show, things you'd like to see me do or hear about, I'm certainly open to doing all of that. So, like I said, I got something going on in my throat, so I apologize for every single time I'm going to clear my throat as this episode goes on. All right, so you guys are catching me right after I was on the Schmoedown show last night for about an hour. Just came on there. Ellis and Harloff reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, will you come on and do an hour with us?" And I was like, "Sure. Let's promote the match, the triple threat match. Let's, kind of talk about what happened with tag team stuff." And so, went on. That was good times. It's always great hanging out with those guys. And one of the reasons I'm recording this morning, said last night, was that Ellis and I went out with Cody and we got ourselves some beers and just hung out and caught up and, kind of talked NFL and talked about NBA, talked about all kinds of stuff. Just really good. It's always a great time to hang out with those guys. And so I always enjoy that. What's going on in your lives? Like, what's the situation with you? Like, are you guys, like, what's good? Tell me. Like, the messages have kind of dried up. I haven't heard from a lot of you guys, maybe because I'm not talking too much about, like the mental health stuff or talking too much about, the issues that are going on. But I do want to hear from you guys, and so I haven't gotten a lot of direct messages or a lot of Facebook messages like I was getting when the show first started. And maybe I need to start talking more about that kind of stuff in order to get those messages back from you guys. I don't know. But I'm certainly open to still receiving them. So if you're hesitating to send it, don't. Like some of you guys, like, I know you get a million messages, and the truth is yes, but I also enjoy reading them because I have downtime at work or break time at work, and sometimes if I get those messages, I'll just take that time to kind of read them all and absorb them, So last night, what was so what's going on with my life is I'm still kind of dealing with the matchmaker. Something's going on. Hopefully, maybe next week. I know it's because of the holiday week, we didn't really set anything up, but. When she sent me on that first day, I don't know if I've talked to you guys. I don't know if I talked to you guys last week about it. Maybe I'll just touch on it real quick. Is that, I went out on the first matchmaker date. It was fun. She was great. Fantastic personality. Really one of the funnest dates I've ever had. She was really great. We talked about a lot of things. Talked about college football. She's a massive USC fan. She's a lawyer downtown in LA. So it's just a great time. But she wasn't 100% physically what I was looking for, and there wasn't that chemistry. Aside from the physical, there just wasn't that chemistry that sparked romance. It was more, or attraction. It was more like chemistry friend-wise. And I think that's where we more connected. And true to form, the matchmaker sent me her number through her. Like she said, please give John my number. I would love to watch college football with him once the season starts, or become friends with him and then eventually watch college football. So that's, sometimes dates don't work out 100% in the attraction side, but it doesn't mean you can't make a friend. You can never have too many friends, as John Turturro says in Miller's Crossing. You can never have too many friends. So that's on that front. I'm still kind of like messing around with Bumble, but it's weird. Like I'm not sure that I'm in a place. I'm trying to understand if I'm in a place to date or not. Like I know it's weird. I'm opening the door. I'm letting you into a little bit of John Roca's mindset about things, but like I was so focused for the better part of 2 decades to try to find someone or be with someone, or, kind of I needed to be with a girlfriend. I needed to, I got to get married, got to have kids, and all this stuff. And yes, that happens to guys. Women think it's just them on the time. Sometimes some women think it's just them on the, like the biological clock. And yes, we can still have kids till we're 70. That's sure. People make that joke all the time. But, the quality time with them diminishes. Your ability to like run around and do all kinds of things with them diminishes as you get older. So, we are, in a way, we're kind of on a clock as well, and not as imperative, obviously, as women who are having the children, but like we are on a clock as well, So it's weird to be in this place now because of the wreckage of the last 7 years of these relationships I was in. I don't necessarily feel this desire to jump back into one. And it's a strange place for me to be in, because I see other people like finding other, like I think most of my exes have, like the last 4 or 5, have moved on to someone else. And from what I hear, and some I'm still friends with, some I don't talk to, but I hear through the grapevine that they're with someone and they're happily, or they're doing whatever they're doing. And it's just weird because I start to compare, and I know people say like, oh, you can't compare because then you get all like, like down on yourself, and I get that, but it's weird for me. I'm not more comparing like, oh, why don't I have someone? It's more I'm comparing like, why don't I have the same desire like before? And so it's an interesting place to be in that I'm kind of navigating, so I'm kind of dating, but without any kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but there's no like kind of rush. And it's actually a kind of interesting new place to be in, to not have to rush, because I used to be the guy that was like, I'd meet you, we had this fantastic first date, and then we'd like be texting for days on end, like every day, both of us texting back and forth and being flirty. And, when you rush the relationship, most of the time, not all the time, there are exceptions to every rule, but when you rush the relationship too quickly, like when you're meeting you're meeting the parents within a few weeks, you're you're doing all these other things, too quickly, then the relationship fizzles out because you haven't built enough of a foundation. And if you both really like each other or kind of see a possibility, then there's nothing wrong with taking the time to kind of nurture it and enjoy what it's all about and put it together correctly and find the right right rhythm, the right time to do these things. Because it's really important to have that kind of time with people, and to have that kind of time with your significant other to build a strong foundation. And I didn't understand that for a long time. Like for a long time, I just was like, yeah, love, romance, like I see in the movies, all that bullshit. But I didn't understand that the real strength or the real foundation of a relationship is building that friendship up first. Taking the time, and not being afraid that they're going to run off with someone else, or they're going to meet someone else, or you're going to meet someone else. It's more a matter of like, okay, I like you, you like me, let's figure this out. Let's build this thing up. Let's see where we're at. And, I'm just built differently than most guys that I've ever encountered, because most guys are just like, they get like dragged along into situations, and they participate, and they're very, I'm just like, I'm very romantic, and all those kinds of things, but like some guys are just like, there's no rush to do these things, you know what I'm saying? And so there's the difference most of the time I find with most of the guys, and so for me, it's more a matter of like, I'm just like trying to find now in this post-therapy place, I'm in a I'm just in a different space altogether. And so my approach to this whole thing is different. My approach and my stance, my desire, all of it is just different. So I'm kind of navigating. It's kind of a new thing. And I'm no spring chicken. So I'm hoping this leads to something, but who knows? And I've come to terms with the fact that it might not. And, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I've still got my career that I'm focusing on. I've still got the stuff I'm trying to accomplish, in this business and in other areas of life. And so those things are enough to consume one's time. Obviously, I'm crazy busy already, and if you throw in a dating situation or a girlfriend or what have you, it would add even more time commitment to my life, which is not a bad thing if I find the right person. It's not a bad thing, So it's an interesting place to be in, and I kind of like it, but it's like a whole new. I feel like a toddler. I feel like a baby in diapers, kind of kind of waddling into this situation. That's what I feel like, because I've never been in this place before, so it's just so interesting. But I'm also kind of, half of me is like, well, why didn't you realize this earlier? This sooner. That could have led to some better relationships. But hey, man, we are all on our own timetables, and we all come to things when we come to things. And sometimes getting married early or finding that what we think is the right person early can lead to some bad relationships, bad divorces, kids, situations with that don't, kids in broken homes, things of that nature. So it's never 100% one way or 100% the other way. It's an interesting scenario, and there's no one way to do it. You just kind of find the way that works for you, and that's how you make it happen. So it's just always interesting to explore that. So anyway, that's the place I'm at with that. And I'm like I said, I'm still trying to get out there. I'm still trying to date. So we'll see what happens. But I like it. I like that I'm chill. Like, I like that it's not a big deal. Like, it's so interesting to be in this place, because it really was such a big deal for such a long time for me. So it's nice to kind of just relax and do my thing. I don't know if any of you are in that place, male or female. But like, if you are, I applaud you. Take your time, figure it out. Don't rush into anything, And if it's there, it's gonna be there. If it's supposed to be there, it'll be there, And that's something that I did not understand for a long time. So I'm happy to be there in that place. Anything else? Yeah, well, there's a big announcement coming in the next couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to making the announcement. I can't wait till we actually make the announcement, but it's not for another couple of weeks. So I hope we'll be able to talk about it when it happens. Let's see. What else is going on? I'm still auditioning, still doing voiceover stuff mostly. Hardly do any on-camera stuff anymore. The hosting stuff's going well. There's a project that I might be coming on to work on soon, which I'll be able to talk about, hopefully. And also, Talking Thrones started up. So if you haven't watched our Game of Thrones show, which we just started last week on Collider, Ken is hosting the show. Some of you guys remember Ken from other shows that he's hosted that have Game of Thrones in as the source material that they talk about. But he's come over to Collider, and he's hosting the show with me and Rachel Cushing and Dennis Zeng, and it was just great to record that show. We recorded a season 6 preview, and I think the next episode is going to be a season 6 review, and then I think the next episode is going to be a season 7 preview of what we think might happen, where we think the show is going to go, what's going to happen to certain characters, and so it'll be a good show for you all to listen to and enjoy and watch. And thanks everybody for the amazing comments you guys have been leaving about the show, and really thank you so much for welcoming Rachel in such an awesome way, because Rachel is quickly becoming one of my favorite people to talk to hang out with, to go over things with. She's so intelligent, smart, and she's not caught up in the other, the bullshit that some people get caught up in this business. And like, why am I not getting the interview that I want? Why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting that? Rachel's not like that, and I love that. Perry's that way too. Perry just goes out and does it. Rachel just goes out and does it. Other people just sit around and complain about what they're not getting, and it's just like, those two are not that way, and I love that. What's so great about Rachel too is that she's a massive fan of the books, and has been a fan of the Game of Thrones like before it even became a TV series. So she's been trying to talk to people about Game of Thrones her entire life. So she's so happy to come on, and her circumstances just kind of worked out for her to be on the show. So I'm looking forward to talking about every episode of Game of Thrones with her as the season progresses. Let's see, what else is going on? Is that all the shows? Yeah, well, I've been on Movie Talk more. We talked about that already. Might be on a few mailbags coming up. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully I'll get on TV Talk again. That'll be fun. So I'm just trying to stay open and available to all the opportunities that are coming up with Collider, and they've been really great. Mark Fernandez and all them over there, obviously Christian and Wendy and Dennis and all of them have been really great at, and Perry and Mark have all been really great, and Josh have been great at like just kind of encouraging me and giving me opportunities and like talking to me about opportunities. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing what pops up and what comes down the pike. So we'll see. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. There might be more of John Roca on the shows. We shall see. What else? Oh, so you guys catch me. Yes, I'm coming off. So let's talk about the Schmoedown a little bit. Yeah, I'm coming off that tag team loss. That was just, man, all I can tell you is sometimes you just have a bad day. And that was just me having a bad day. I got in my head. I missed a couple of questions in the first round. I started to feel like, I was letting the team down. And this is a weird place for me to be in because, for a majority of the time, people have this narrative that, like, Matt isn't as strong as me or whatever. And that's just not true. You guys don't know. Some of those discussions we have, when you see us actually talking during matches and giving each other fist bumps, it's because we both, like, respect each other's knowledge. And Matt has pulled our asses out of the fire more than once in a number of matches. And so it drives me nuts, this narrative that Matt is somehow weaker than me. Matt knows so much about animation, so much about these other subjects that I don't, that he really can step up in certain moments and has saved our asses, as I said, with these one-point or multiple-choice answers that have really kept us in games, especially against Rotten Tomatoes. So, yes, I've pulled out some answers, but Matt has also, like, been really great at doing these kinds of things too. So, but I got caught up in the last game. Like, I always feel like I have to bring, like, my game 100%, to kind of keep us afloat in certain moments so that Matt can save us in certain moments. And I think I just got rattled right off the bat when I missed the Sleeping Beauty question or missed the animated Disney films in the 50s. And then as it progressed, Cameron Poe, like, I don't know how I missed Cameron Poe. I fucking love Con Air. And I mean, I watch it all the time when it's on TV. It's what I call, I have a thing that I say, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I call it crack movies, like movie crack. Like, there are certain movies that are just crack to you as a film lover, right? And Major League is one. Shawshank Redemption is one for me. I think Deepwater Horizon is becoming one for me. I watched it again an hour of it again last night. That is such a damn good movie. The Peter Berg-Mark Wahlberg connection, my favorite connection of theirs is that movie. I know Lone Survivor's good, but this, something about Deepwater Horizon, I think having Kurt Russell in there too, and Gina Rodriguez, I think the combination of all of that just makes the film just so much more interesting to me than any of the film combinations that they've done as actor and director. Anyway, so I have films that are like movie crack to me. Like, I can't resist them. I get more and more addicted every year. And Con Air is that. And so as soon as I messed up, I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is happening in your head that you are messing these things up? The lightsaber thing, of course, Luke with the tauntaun. Like, I just wasn't, my head was too cloudy. And I don't know what was going on with me inside, that I wasn't, like, focused, that I wasn't there, and so I just messed it all up for us. And Matt did his best to pull our asses out of the fire. The fact that we even made it to the fifth round after that debacle of a fourth round with the buzzer questions, man, JT is just quick. I knew the answers to 4 out of 5 of those questions. I just knew them a split second later than JT. That's all. That's all it was, and that's the difference. And of course, rolling comedy, we should have spun again. That's on me. I thought, well, Matt can help us with comedy I just was so rattled from the first round that I wasn't thinking straight, and I didn't just take a step back or take a breath. And so I'm learning as I fight these battles how to approach them. Because as Frank will tell you, if you go to Frank Janish's posts on the Schmoedown, people bring their A game when they play me, more so than when they play anybody else. So, like, I have to start understanding that people come with, like, I can't take a day off. I can't take a time off, a match off. I can't relax, And so sometimes I go in there and I'm just, like, so in my head that I don't just fucking relax and play the game. And so that's my focus going into the triple threat match with Dan and with Mark Riley. I'm going to be relaxed. There's no suits, none of that shit. I'm just going to focus on the match, focus on trivia, and be relaxed and walk in there. And here's the deal. This guy on the Schmoedown, this guy on Schmoville, the Movie Trivia Schmoedown page, this guy posts this massive treatise on what he thinks is going to happen. And then he said at the end, with the triple threat match, Roca, he's saying he's going to focus on trivia. Something I told him about a year ago. Listen, let's get something real fucking straight between you and me. No one, and I mean no one, who's ever done the Schmoedown, has any advice to give that's worth a good goddamn. Because none of you guys have been under the lights. None of you guys have done this to the level that we've done it. And none of you guys have gone toe-to-toe with some of the heavyweights in this business of movie knowledge. We have. So don't inflate your own ego by thinking your advice matters. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't. Maybe to other people, but not to the Outlaw. The Outlaw focuses on what he needs to focus on, gets it done, shows up, does the best he can for the day, and sometimes, yeah, I overthink it, my head gets muddled. That's the way it works sometimes. But hey, I've also won belts. So, take it or don't take it, it's up to you. But nobody giving me advice who's never fought in a match knows what the fuck they're talking about. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right? So you can kiss your own ass by saying, I gave him advice a year ago. I told him, blah, blah. Yeah, shut up. Shut up. All right, and so with the triple threat match, it's going to be interesting because this is going to be one of the greatest challenges of my life as a competitor, and I want that belt back. The Mark Riley match is another match where my head was a bit cloudy at times, and I wasn't really 100% focused. But like I said, I'm learning. To me, every loss is an opportunity to learn. And this is something I say to people all the time, and this is true no matter what you do in your life. Every loss, everything you don't get, everything you fail on, every mistake you make, every moment that you kind of don't get it done, you can sit and wallow in your shit, or you can learn the lesson and move on. And it's not easy. I get it. It's not easy. Learning the lesson and moving on is one of the hardest things you have to do in life. But you have to do it in life in order to get ahead, in order to succeed. And when that stuff happens, when it comes for you, you got to have that moment where you're like, okay, let me take a breath. Let me take a moment. And focus. And I'm still learning that at times. So, yeah, I'm like Tiger working out my swing a little bit here. And that's kind of what's happening. Not just, it's funny as I say this now, probably not just in the Schmoedown, but in my life right now. So, I'm kind of working out my swing again to get it back, and then I'll go start winning majors again. So I'm hoping that my altered approach from what happened in the tag team match as I go into the triple threat match will get me the belt. But we'll see. We'll see. I know that I'm looking forward to it. As opposed to being nervous, I'm actually looking forward to it. You can't take a moment off with Dan Murrell, and Mark Riley is no slouch either. So, I think to me that those are the things that I focus on more than anything else. And so it's going to be an awesome match. And it's going to be a fun time. And I have a feeling that I'm going to be in a better place than I was going into the triple threat match. Going into the tag team match. I know that. I just have a feeling. I just already feel like I'm in a better place. So I know I'm going to walk into that ring in a better place. So you guys, I hope you guys get a chance to watch that this week. I think it's dropped. I think it's going to, what are we going to do it? Like next? Yeah, it's this Friday. Wow. Okay. So yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. Because I think we're doing it, today? Yeah. Oh man. All right. Anyway, let's see. What else I want to talk about? Oh yeah, let's touch base about this. So, for some of you that don't know, there was a big situation that happened with Bibiani and I on Twitter. Now, this is coming off the heels of this ridiculous back and forth that Kalinowski and I had a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago on Twitter, where all the DC trolls came out and started jumping up on my ass and talking about all this stuff because I was, talking about the Transformers films, and Kalinowski took it upon himself to tweet a thing about Michael Bay, saying that, Michael Bay does, objectifies women in his films, and the DCEU has never done that. You never objectified anybody in their films. So I just decided to post a picture of Lois Lane from Superman versus Batman with her, you can see her breasts in the water, all that. So I thought, that's, they're just showing that because she's a beautiful woman. And so it's a sexy way to show Lois Lane that we've never seen her before. And it objectifies her a little bit. It can be seen as objectification, right? And of course, the Steve Rogers thing with him cupping his balls in one Wonder Woman. There's a number of things. I think you see Batman's butt, and Ben Affleck. And so there's a number of things where, these people work out to be these heroes. So they want to, there's nothing wrong with showing. I'm just saying, My argument was that objectification occurs in these movies as well, just in a different way, and I'm not excusing objectification at all. When Michael Bay does it in the Transformers movies, it really bothers me. And you see when he's doing it, you're like, did you have to? Did you have to? But if there's a market for that he thinks is working and those movies make money because of that, that's one of the elements that maybe works for the audience that watches those movies, then, he's servicing his audience. For better or worse. Like, you can have an opinion one way or the other, but if it's working for him, it's working for him. And obviously the box office receipts from the last one probably prove that it isn't working much this time, or didn't work as well this time around, both internationally and domestically. Yeah, absolutely. Last night is just crashing. So anyway, in the DC Twitter, people just like some of the people who are DC fans, who are fans of his, jumped in the middle of the argument without even knowing what the argument was, and just started going off and saying all this stuff about me. And I was just like, what the crap is this? So it was my first experience with like DC Twitter trolls or DC trolls, and seeing that them misunderstanding things or purposely not understanding things I'm saying so they can like unleash their venom as they see fit, and that's something that I hadn't experienced quite to the extreme level that I experienced in that situation. So walking into this Clue thing. So this Clue thing happened because one of our fans for the Cinephiles, which you can listen to on iTunes and on Stitcher and on YouTube, the Cine-Files. Cine-Files, you don't type in the dash, obviously. But like they suggested, one of the fans, like, hey, are you guys going to do Clue? And I said, well, no, Clue to me is not a classic. Well, Bibiani weighed in and said, well, no, wait, Clue is a classic. And so we had a pleasant back and forth. But then, behind my back, he went and tweeted, hey, I have a film critic friend of mine who thinks that Clue is not a comedy classic. If you think it's a comedy classic, retweet this. So he didn't even tell me, hey, I'm going to do this. I know we had our debate. I want to see what the results are. Do you want to monitor this with me? He just did it on his own, And so it started to be, so I saw this and I felt a bit like, dude, why are you why wouldn't you even like let me know that you're doing this? So then I posted mine, but he got like his, because he's got the blue check mark next to him, a certified account. It automatically gets more attention from Twitter. I don't know if you guys know this, but like most of the time, if you're a famous person and you have the blue check mark, if you as a blue check mark person comment on another blue check mark person's tweet, the blue check, they see it more visibly than if you don't have the blue check mark. So that's what I've been told about Twitter. So if you have a blue check mark next to your name, also when you tweet, you have more exposure, you appear on more feeds. And so eventually we became a Twitter moment, this whole Clue battle, because it got heated. It got nasty. Like, people like defend this movie like it's their mother or their father, a family member that you're like insulting or whatever if you don't 100% think it's a classic. And the thing is, classic, it's our show, the Cinephiles. So Steve and I get to decide what a classic is. And if we don't think Clue is a classic, guess what? Clue's not a fucking classic for us, right? But Bibiani took this and became like, he thought this was his war, and he was like tweeting and to his credit, like we were having nice back and forth about it on Twitter, very pleasant, two intelligent guys going at it about film, great. But other people were coming in with, once again, this kind of like angry venom, insulting and snarkiness that I just didn't understand, because I'm like, what do you get out of that? What do you get out of the snarkiness? Like, it's shocking to me at times when I see that, because I'm just like, what is your point you're trying to prove? Like, how simple are you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. People are like, oh, you like Transformers. Okay, your opinion doesn't matter. And it's like, Transformers is a guilty pleasure. I don't think Transformers is like a classic. I don't try to promote it as one of the best movies ever made. Any of them. To me, they're just fun, stupid films, guilty pleasures. That's it. But people were like saying, I have no leg to stand on because of Transformers. That's the dumbest thing in the world, when you can walk into any person's movie collection and take out like 10 that are terrible movies. Because we all just have things that we like for whatever reasons. And so to me, it's just so interesting when people say that. And people are just using that as their basis. Like, oh, you should rethink it. He likes Transformers, blah, blah, blah. So it just got kind of nutty. And I responded back to some of them and got into the battles with some of them. And you know what? I made mistakes, because I started calling people names from a place of like, I felt I was being insulted by these people. And I gave them too much credibility. So, eventually Bibbiani wrote this article on Crave Online where he declared himself the winner and said, it is now a comedy. I declare it a comedy classic. William Bibbiani declares it a comedy classic. So it just is so funny. I love William to death, and actually, he's one of my horsemen, and I support him greatly, but sometimes he can be grandiose in his assessment of himself or his thoughts and his opinions, and God love him. Ego is how you survive in the world. Ego is how you accomplish what you need to accomplish in the world. But we'll see. I might write a rebuttal, because there were a lot of people that agree with me that it's not. And especially last night on Schmoe's No Show, Christian agreed that it's not a comedy classic. Mark felt that it was. So I think there is a deeper divide than Bibbiani wants to admit. And look, I'm not saying the movie's not good. A lot of people, I know the movie's good. I know people like the movie. People love the movie. Respect. But to me, it's not a comedy classic. And, Bibbiani's like, the way it's constructed, blah, blah, blah. You can make a case for the construction of Big Daddy as a possible classic film. It works. People still quote it. It's still very funny, And when's the last time you saw a comedy about a single dad with a child trying to raise a child? Like, there are a lot of things about Big Daddy that you could argue are also classic film constructs. Some of the best comedies have classic film constructs. It doesn't mean that they should be classics. Major League has a classic construct, but it doesn't necessarily mean it should be a classic. So, we just differ on that. And, he wrote about it in Crave Online, and he gave me a line, which was nice. But with Bibbs, one of my horsemen. So, one of the reasons I love him is because he is so opinionated. He's so, he believes what he believes. He's an intelligent guy, as you guys heard on Outlaw Nation last week. So I always love debating films with him, and I'm always open to hear his point of view. I just think this whole situation just went out of control. People just got really crazy. So I deleted a lot of my tweets where I called people names, and I've decided, and Rachel kind of reached out to me, this old Evan DeGraff thing that happened on Twitter yesterday, and I said, I'm done. I'm done putting people in their place, and I'm done responding to snarky people or people who come at me with their anger or try to goad me or try to push my buttons with their tweets. I'm no longer responding to any of those tweets. I'm done. I'll respond to positive tweets. I'll respond to logical tweets that have we're debating something in a logical way. But as soon as the snarky comments come in or the shitty comments come in or the venom comes into the situation, then I'm out. Or I don't even engage, or I'll mute you or I'll block you. Doesn't count. It doesn't cost me anything, to mute you or block. I'm not losing anything by muting you at all. So, those kinds of things are just how I approach it now. And you learn it. Some people forget, these guys who are on Collider, or in Screen Junkies that I know or talk to or hang out with, a lot of these guys have been doing it for a long time. So they've been through their own situations and learning experiences. I'm still learning. I'm still relatively new in the business, and so I'm going to have some missteps. And this definitely was a misstep. But like I said earlier, learn the lesson. What do I get out of it? What do I not do next time? What do I focus on going forward? And so that's kind of what's happening there. And look, we're never going to do Clue on the show. Steve and I already talked about we're never going to do Clue on the show. It's not a classic. Unless, ding, 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 unless you go to our Patreon. Now, we have a Patreon for the Cinephiles, and it's www.patreon.com/Cinephiles, and you can donate. And if you donate a certain amount of money, then you get to choose a film. So if you guys want to go, if one of you guys wants to go on there, or a couple of you guys want to get together and go on there and donate a certain amount of money, and suggest that we do Clue, guess what? If you hit the quota, we're going to have to do Clue. So there you go. That's the only way we'll do Clue on the show. There's so many more classic movies to talk about before we even get to Clue, before we would ever get to Clue, honestly. So there you go. And I think Steve and I are going to talk about what defines a classic because of this debate that William and I had online, and we'll define what classic means to us, and then so people have kind of a barometer going forward. But in the long run, this was actually a very healthy debate, and I enjoyed it very much. And I always love debating film with people because I think it's something I love so much, and to meet other people who love it as much, it's great to go back and forth. And I always learn something new whenever I debate with people whose intelligence and knowledge about film is extensive, and I respect. I always learn something, and it's good to do that because you don't ever want to stop learning. that's when you die. You just kind of sit in a place of comfort and don't do anything, and that's no way to go. Oh, yeah. All right. So, Spider-Man's coming out this weekend. I want to encourage all of you who love Spider-Man, love the Marvel movies, to go see it. Most of the reviews have been great on the film. It is such a fun movie. I had such a great time seeing it at the screening, and I was so surprised because I haven't seen any of John Watts' work as a director. I haven't seen anything. And if you want to watch the review, the non-spoiler review that Perry and Mark Ellis and I did, you can see it on Collider. We did it there. But it's a fun movie, man. And Tom Holland is a fantastic Spider-Man. I honestly think, and this is no bullshit, and I haven't changed my mind since I said it on the recap or on the non-spoiler review. He's my favorite Spider-Man so far ever on screen. Tobey was great. Andrew Garfield had his moments and was great. Those are good actors, and they had some great moments as Spider-Man. In fact, I was rewatching the first Spider-Man for an hour 2 days ago. And he's great in that whole scene in the high school when he fights off the guys, and then when he starts to climb the wall, like all of that when he's discovering his powers. There's such a joy to what Tobey Maguire brought to Spider-Man with the mixture of the darkness. And that's what I'll tell you is the difference. This Spider-Man has the darkness to a degree, but it's mostly about the joy of being Spider-Man. And I think that's what we needed to come back to this property, come back to, or accept this as a reboot again, was to see, not to go into, there's no origin story really that you see, and it's mostly just about him figuring out how to be Spider-Man, figuring out where he fits with the Avengers and all this stuff. And it's so much fun. And the high school stuff is great. Like, if you've been to high school, you relate to a lot of what he's going through, and what he experiences. And some of the casting is just brilliant and diverse and interesting and fun. Like, that's the number one thing I would say. And I made jokes about this on Movie Talk before when people interview about DC movies, and they're like, we just want them to be fun. Spider-Man is so much fun, and you may not like it. Some of you may find issues or point flaws out or whatever with some plot points or whatever. But to me, I had a great time, and everybody in the theater, all the guys and girls we went with that day, we all had a great time, and we all talked about how much we enjoyed it afterwards. And Mark Riley and I definitely had an exchange where we were just like, yeah, this is Spider-Man, man. It was so much fun to watch that again, So that's what I would say is, if you want to go have fun in the theater, go and enjoy Spider-Man. It's over 2 hours long, which is really surprising. I think it's over 2. I think it's 2:20 or something like that. Let me look that up real quick. But yeah, I think it's a long movie, and it'll be interesting to see what you guys think, what a majority of people think, because as I said, I think it's one of the most interesting movies, fun movies that I've seen in quite some time, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah, 2 hours and 13 minutes. That's how long it is. So go and see Spider-Man Homecoming. Tell me what you think. Tweet me your thoughts. Like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I have to say this over and over again because I forget to do it on the show, so I have to say it when I remember it. But, like, anything I talk about on the show, send me your comments. Send me your comments on YouTube. Send me your comments on Twitter. Direct message me. Some of you message me on my Instagram posts, which I think is hilarious because I'm just like, wait, this has nothing to do with my show, but all right, sure, let me talk to you about that, And so, let me hear what you think about that. Talk to me about The Clue. Talk to me about your dating life. Talk to me about your situations in your world and, the Schmoedown stuff. Like, anything you want to say, I'm always open to hearing it. It's fun to have a back and forth with you guys. And like I said, let me know if you have some segments you want me to do. Oh! Speaking of which, one of the segments or one of the things that people have been asking me about recently, and this may be the nice segue into something here with the sports, is that people have been asking me, who are my fans from internationally, how did you become a Liverpool fan? Right? They've been asking me over and over again. I forget to bring it up, but now that I remembered it, let's bring it up. People say, how did you become a Liverpool fan? Like, you're an American. You're a Latino, why would you cheer for Liverpool? Well, it's really simple. It's because when I was younger, I was a massive Beatles fan. I'm still a massive Beatles fan, but Liverpool had this there's just something about the name of the city itself, and then I was always into soccer, because that's the thing. Like, parents, my dad and I, we had soccer. American kids have baseball. They go out and they throw the ball with their dad out in the backyard or in the front yard or whatever. But with Latino kids, at least with me and my dad, what we did was we would go out in the backyard of the house and we would kick the ball to each other, soccer ball to each other, as we talked about our lives, for an hour every Saturday. We just would go walk out there. No matter what was going on, we would just walk out there and just kick the ball back and forth to each other, talking about stuff. And my brother and I would go at times to these local, like, soccer fields, and we would take turns being goalie and striker. And so that was our way of connecting. That was the sport that we connected. Whereas I did play baseball, but I only played it for like a year. And we won the championship the year I played. And I was like, well, I can't beat that. So I never played again, organized baseball. Soccer was more my thing always. So I was always a massive soccer fan growing up, football fan, whatever you want to say. And, I followed the U.S. team, like when they beat Trinidad and Tobago to get into the World Cup for the first time in like 50 years. I remember that. The shot heard around the world. And then I became like a massive fan of trying to find the right clubs to cheer for. So as I was coming into my 20s, I was looking for, and Liverpool, the Beatles, all of that just kind of spoke to me. And then I watched this game with Robbie Fowler, like some bootleg DVD copy that one of my uncles had. And I watched it, and I just was like, I was in love with that team. Fowler, McManaman, the way they moved the ball, the way they scored, the joy of Anfield, and the colors, the reds. Man, the reds are just so powerful. So for me, that's how I became a Liverpool fan, is because of the Beatles, because I like the name of the city. And then eventually, when I watched the first match, I was just so entranced with the way they played soccer, the way they played football, and the joy that those guys had, the way they moved the ball. So from that point forward, I would try to get my dad to buy the satellite packages so that we could watch those games. And my dad and I, we watched World Cups all the time. And the 1994 World Cup is where my love for Liverpool really came into its own and solidified, because of Michael Owen. Michael Owen's goal against Argentina, when he essentially ran the entire middle of the entire half of the field to score that goal against Argentina in the 94 World Cup, was like, who does that guy play for? Wait, he's a Liverpool striker? Okay, that's it. I'm a Liverpool. So from 1994 on, I was legitimately hardcore Liverpool fan. I was a Liverpool fan going into 1994. Like whenever I'd watch the matches, I could, bootleg matches or find them somewhere and watch them. Because there was a soccer store downtown that I could go to, and they would have them on these like small televisions, or one or two televisions they had out there. They would play matches that they had on tape that they had downloaded from satellite broadcast. Back in the old days, kids, you could record stuff on VHS from a feed from the cable that you were getting, or the satellite channel. You could record stuff, and some of these tapes you could put 3 games on there because there's 6 hours, and so they would just play them over and over again. I would go watch them as I looked at the paraphernalia they had. So anyway, so the Michael Owen thing really, and then it started to become something you could get more access to through the 90s and then into the 2000s, definitely, And so to me, Steven Gerrard, like all those guys came in, Torres, Suarez, all the guys that came in, obviously Jamie Carragher, so many of those guys that came into to my life as a Liverpool fan, I gravitated to and loved, and so that's why I became a Liverpool fan. And I will live and die on that hill to the end. I don't cheer for any other soccer team. In England, rather. Some people have like multiple teams they cheer for. For me, it's always Liverpool. And then in the American states, it's DC United, because I grew up in DC, or DC, Virginia, rather. And so when the MLS was starting out in 96, DC brought over the star of the Bolivian national team, Marco Echeverri, El Diablo. Marco, my dad is from Bolivia, Cochabamba, and I, obviously, as the son of 2 Bolivian parents, loved the Bolivian national team. So when Marco came to play for DC United, then I became a massive fan of DC United. And then I think it was a quarter of the way through the season, my dad and I had gone to see Bolivia play the U.S., and Jaime Moreno scored 2 beautiful goals. And he was signed by DC within, I think, 2 weeks after that. And so we had 2 Bolivians with Jaime Moreno, Marco Echeverri. Then you had Raul Diaz Arce. So you had all these like Hispanic, Latino guys on the team. So for me, it became an addiction. My dad and I would go to RFK all the time and see the matches with his friends from work, with our uncles, my uncles rather, his brothers. We would go to the games, and I'm nuts when I watch a soccer game. Like, I am on pins and needles for the entire 90 minutes. You will see me throw my hands up in the air. You will see me scoff. You will see me yell. You will see me get crazy excited about a goal. It's just how I just love the game so much. And so Liverpool, that's why I've been a fan for them for years. And, they've won a number of cups. They never won the league. They came close. I've lived and died, with the Gerrard slip. I lived and died with so many moments with the Crystal Palace 3-3 tie where Suarez was crying coming off the field. I felt his pain. Yeah, and if anyone deserved the title that year, it was us. We really deserved it. We were just a better, more beautiful playing soccer team, and we got screwed over in the end. So it just happens. It's part of sports, So there you go. All right, that's enough of that Liverpool stuff. I mean, there's so much more I could go into. If you guys want to ask me questions about that on next week's show, I'm happy to do that and talk about it a bit more, but we'll see. I don't want to get too much into the free agency stuff. There's so much happening with the NBA. I think I have to wait a little bit until all the pieces are in place, and then I think Matt Nose is going to come on, and we're going to do like a all NBA breakdown Outlaw Nation podcast about where all these players ended up, and we'll see how that plays out, and see if it's something that we'll have fun talking about. It's always great. It's always great to have Matt on the show. It's always fun to talk to him about more than just the NBA stuff, but we'll definitely talk about that as and other issues as well when he comes on, probably in a couple of weeks. I think the dust is going to settle in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what's up. So, all right, I think that's enough for this week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to the Outlaw Nation podcast. Thanks so much for patronizing the show. Thanks so much for clicking on that click from MeUndies.com that you guys did. I got a package the other day. I'm going to try these MeUndies and see how they feel, and talk about them more, hopefully on the show, and hopefully get sponsored by them. We'll see what happens. You guys have been amazing at downloading the show and clicking on that link. I really appreciate all of it. And send me your suggestions. Let's talk about stuff. Let's make this show interactive. I want to interact with you guys. I want to get to the point where I can take calls. Might even do a live Outlaw Nation podcast every week, and then just upload the audio after we do the podcast. Maybe on Wednesday nights we'll do just like a 2-hour show every Wednesday night where we just like I talk about something, and then we go to the calls, or we get the kind of like what you see with the Schmoedown show. Like watching them last night, how they did it with the tweets and with the Facebook posts. I thought that was brilliant. So if I can find a way to do that on camera or on the audio, then I think that'll be the next step for the Outlaw Nation, and that'll be fun as hell, because I want to be as interactive as possible with you guys and make it work. And really, go to the other shows on the SK Plus podcast channel, the Wanger Show, Don't Be a Beardo, After Schmoedown, the Schmoedown Rundown. All those shows are fantastic shows, great people hosting them, a lot of fun to listen to them go on and on about stuff, and some great content is going on there. So please give them likes, give them comments, follow them just like you do with me, and do it on mine as well. Leave the comments, leave the likes. All of it helps to keep us in the periphery of Christian and supporting of the SK Plus podcast channel as a whole. We all appreciate it. There's some great stuff going on. And the Wanger Show, right? Did I say the Wanger Show? I hope I said the Wanger Show. I'm trying to get on the Wanger Show. If Copster and Cody and anyone else in charge, and Beardo over there, the Wanger Show, will have me on the show, I want to be on the show, for God's sakes. Let's have some fun. So there you go. All right. Thanks, everybody, again for listening to the Outlaw Nation podcast. You can follow me at The Rocha Says, ROCHASAYS, on Twitter and on Instagram. You can listen to me also on The Cinephiles, as I mentioned earlier. That's over on iTunes, on Stitcher, on YouTube. Steve and I break down one classic movie that is at least 10 years old. And we've done some awesome recent films. 3 Days of the Condor. What did we do the other day? Or what are we doing tomorrow? We did Police Story with the Jackie Chan police, which was a guilty pleasure. I think we have Rocky coming up tomorrow. So Steve and I discussing Rocky, breaking down Rocky. That was one of our favorite ones that we've done in quite some time. So look, go in there, go listen to Scott Mance and me and Steve talk about Blade Runner or talk about Wrath of Khan. He's come on for both. We're negotiating for him to come on possibly for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So there's a lot happening on the Cinephiles, and we're getting some great guests. Sasha Pearl Raver came on to talk Pulp Fiction. Like, so many great episodes that you guys can download and enjoy and listen and have a lot of fun with Steve and I breaking down a film. And you'll understand my knowledge of film and how I dissect film. And it's different than what you see on Collider. Like, a lot of people kind of think that I'm the same way on every podcast. It's not. With Steve and I, it's more about analyzing the film and being analytical about the content, the construction, all that. It's a lot. It's a great time. And so I encourage you all to download it and enjoy the show. And of course, Fridays on Collider Movie Talk at 10 a.m. I'm always on the show on Fridays, which is a blast. And hopefully I'll be on more shows with Collider in the future. And of Talking Thrones coming up. I think we're going to do the first, I think there's one more episode coming out on Monday previewing season 7, like I said earlier in the podcast. Then Sunday night of the premiere of season 7, we're going to do the recap live right afterwards. I think live, or we're going to do it right afterwards. And then we'll be doing Mondays. Every Monday we'll do the show. And then for the finale, we will do it right after the finale. So a lot of fun stuff coming up in the future. So please follow me and send me your stuff, and let's interact and let's have some fun. Guys and gals, have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you had an awesome July 4th. Go America. And take care of yourself. Be well. Do what you need to do. Fight the fight that is a great fight for your life. All right? Get to it. We all need encouragement. We all need motivation. We all need that extra oomph. Find that extra oomph in your life and go get it. And be happy about it. It's worth it, and you're worth it. Don't forget that. You're worth it. No matter what shit you're going through, you're worth it. Whether you believe in God or not, something breathed life into you and felt you deserved that life. So go get it. All right? I love you. Thanks for listening to the Outlaw Nation podcast this week. We'll talk to you all next week.